friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori and I am so excited to be making this video. I can't handle it. As you guys know, I'm a mood reader. I've also tried TBR planning, and there's just so many ways to get through my books, but this year I've been feeling a lot of anxiety when it comes to reading my shelves. You guys know I started a Read Your Shelves challenge earlier this year where I was really focusing on reading the books that I already owned on my TBR shelves. So I thought that I would reach out for a little bit of help with this project, and I'm starting a new thing here on the channel called BookTube Bestie Takeover, and this is the first episode or vlog of that. And basically what it is, I'm reaching out to a friend of mine every month or so here on BookTube, and I'm giving them unfettered access to all of my physical TBR, and they get to control what I read for an entire week. Anything goes as long as I own it and it's on my shelves, with the small caveat that I have asked them not to give me anything that starts a massive new series. But overall, they have pretty much complete control over what I'm reading. So this month, I reached out to one of my oldest and best BookTube friends and asked him for a little bit of help and gave him completely unrestricted access to my TBR. So we'll see how this goes. I'm very excited, you guys. This is going to be super fun, and I think it's going to help me get through some books that I otherwise wouldn't reach for as quickly, and just kind of shake up my reading a little bit, and I think it's going to be great fun. So, with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew's Wizardly Reads.
Alright, Tori, so I've got a batch of books that I would like you to try, and I've got 3 of them. First up is Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. I know you've tried Bradbury before and you didn't exactly love it, but I think Dandelion Wine is going to work for you. Fingers crossed that it makes you just fall in love with Ray Bradbury and you can't stop reading all of his work because he's fantastic. Then I want you to read Day Zero so that we can buddy read it together because, you know, anything to force you into a buddy read is just a-okay with me. And then the last book I want you to try is Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. This is one of my favorite books of the year so far, and I think that you're really going to enjoy this. It's basically a short story collection. Same with Dandelion Wine, but these 3 books I definitely think you are going to love, my friend, and happy reading to you.
All right, guys, you heard it from the man himself. I will be starting with Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. I know that Andrew has absolutely gushed about this book this year, and it's a little bit more of a classic fantasy style, which I'm really excited about because I think that's going to be a good kind of shake-up from what I've been reading, and I desperately need that in my life. So let's get started with Lord of the Shattered Land. As you can see, both Pippin and Novia are also very excited about this reading vlog and are just so ready to get to work. Right, guys? Guys? I guess not. Okay guys, it's Wednesday because life's been crazy this week, and most people who are doing reading vlogs sit on a really nice white couch under their blanket for like 3 hours and read their book and their house is clean. I have 3 kids, my house is never quiet and it is never clean. So I'm hiding by my bookshelves on the floor. So I might get a chance to read on the couch for 20 minutes later this week, and if I do, I'll be sure to film it for you guys. But this is just realistic mom life reading vlog. So welcome. I have started Lord of a Shattered Land, and I want to talk about it because I'm really enjoying myself with this book. I was coming off of a reading slump when I started this vlog, and that was a little tough. But this was exactly what the doctor ordered. So, Lord of a Shattered Land, and again, this is going to be no spoilers, but just in general what it's about. It's about, like, if you take a war veteran mentor character and turn them into the protagonist. That's who Hanavar is, which is super cool. I'm loving that. He's older. He's not as strong as he was in his youth. He's, you know, been through a lot of things in life. He's lost his family. He's lost his entire nation has been basically decimated by another land. And he is slowly trying to find all of the survivors and free them from the chains of slavery and whatever horrible situation they're in. It's called The Chronicles of Hanavar for a reason, and it is set up that way, which I'm actually really loving. It is great when you're in a reading slump to have a book that's kind of in bite-sized pieces. So every chapter of this book is Hanavar finding and freeing another group of people or another person. And I really like that. The chapters are broken up into sections, and it time jumps a little bit. Like, not much, but you don't have all of the travel time in between. Like, okay, I freed these people, now I'm traveling all the way over to here. It's like, it feels like somebody was writing down the chronicles of his life and getting the really important pieces of the story in kind of episodes. And I love that about it. I'm appreciating that this book has a little bit of that classic fantasy feel. Clearly, you can see by the cover, it's very much inspired by classic fantasy. It's very sword and sorcery style, which is awesome. But it also plays a little bit more into modern sensibilities, which I appreciate. So, like, the female characters are actually characters, which is nice. I'm enjoying this. I'm hoping to read some more today and get it done in the next day or two so that I have plenty of time to move on to the other 2 books that Andrew picked for me. So far, A+. Actually, heck, why don't I just read a chapter right now? So, the other thing I want to say about this is there are dragons, serpents-ish kind of creatures in here, and a lot of other fantasy creatures have been introduced, and I think that's really cool. I really love when authors kind of lean into including fantasy creatures in their books. Sitting against the bookshelf isn't super comfortable, but at least we got some reading in. I got to the first section break of chapter 5. And yeah, I'm gonna go and do some schoolwork with my kids now, and I'll see you guys later. Hey guys, it's Friday, and I'm really sorry that I haven't updated you guys in the last day and a half, but it's been really busy this week. It's summer, the kids are in swimming lessons and other activities, and I've got a ton of stuff going on this weekend. So maybe I picked a bad week for this, but we're running with it. So I just finished Lord of a Shattered Land today, and you guys, I really enjoyed this book. The cool part was every chapter I got more and more immersed in Hanavar as a main character, and each set of people that he met and each new aspect of his past that was revealed and who he was as a person was just awesome. It was really cool to slowly kind of layer into the character that way. And each chapter had a different atmosphere. There were some that were more action adventure, there were some that were a little bit mystery, there was one that was very much kind of a horror, there were a couple that had very strong horror flavor. One was almost like a horror escape room, which was really cool, but they all wove together really seamlessly, which was super cool. The world building in this book is something I really appreciated because Jones really gives you a fleshed out view of so many different peoples and customs, and especially because you have a main character who's essentially trying to blend in with a lot of these different cultures and hide what he really is. I'm really glad that I read this and started with this because this was a great way to start off this vlog. And yeah, that's what I got for Lord of Shattered Land. Now it's time to move on to the next book. Hey Andrew, so I'm just wondering, since I finished Lord of a Shattered Land just today, which book would you like me to read next?
The next book that I want you to read is Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. I love that book. It's one of my all-time favorites, and I hope you enjoy it.
All right, guys, you heard it here. The next book that I will be reading is Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. I honestly don't know what to expect with this book. The only Ray Bradbury that I have read up to now was Fahrenheit 451, and I gotta be honest, I wasn't a massive fan. I know it's a lot of people's, like, one of their favorite classics. It just didn't land for me as much as I was hoping it was going to, but I'm definitely willing to give Dandelion Wine a try, especially since Andrew is such a big fan of Bradbury. So let's get into it. Hi guys, it's Monday. So once again, I haven't updated you for a couple of days, and that's because my last weekend was nuts. It was so busy, you guys. I judged a 4-H county fair fleece show. I'll put a picture up in here so you guys can see. And then on Sunday, we had an installation for our new pastor at our church, and I had a live stream last night, and I'm just tired and I haven't had enough chance to really read as much as I would have liked to this last weekend. So I'm just gonna continue this vlog until I finish these next two books. I have gotten about halfway through Dandelion Wine, and here's what I want to say about it. It's charming. I'm loving the kind of stream of consciousness, magical realism. There's so much like small town nostalgia and family and friend focus to this, and giving us little vignettes about the different people in this town. And obviously the main focus is on our main character Douglas Spaulding and his younger brother Tom, but it kind of branches out from there and gives us snapshots of different people around them, both family and neighbors, and you know, like the trolley guy has a little vignette in here, which is super cool. And I'm actually enjoying this more, quite a bit more, I would say, than I enjoyed Fahrenheit 451, which was nice because giving Bradbury a second chance, I wasn't sure where I was gonna land on this. A couple of the stories I haven't liked as much, but it's more just because I get frustrated with certain things that the characters do. It's not necessarily the writing. The writing is very it is very stream of consciousness. You don't always feel grounded to the prose, but that's not really bothering me as much as I thought it would. And a lot of the lines that he uses in here are just really beautiful, and the way he describes people in here is really cool. Yeah, so I'm enjoying this so far. I'm, again, about halfway through. I'm hoping to maybe not finish it today, but get really close. I will keep you guys posted, and we are going to keep reading until these books are read, because I'm determined to get reading time in this week. Thank you guys for coming along with me on this completely unhinged reading vlog. I appreciate you. So this reading vlog was supposed to be a week long, but you know what? Life is life, and it's been crazy, and we've been running all over to orthodontic appointments for my son, but I have been reading. So Miss Novia and I are going to give you the update for what's been going on reading wise this week. As you can see, she is very properly set up and ready for this reading update. I finished Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. I loved some of the stories. I loved a lot of the characters that had little vignettes throughout the through line of the two boys who were kind of our main characters I'm sorry, am I boring you? But some of the stories were just so completely different tone to this, and that really bothered me, and I didn't like it. Like, there was a random murder thing that happened at one point during the story, and I don't get it. Like, I don't know. It felt like I was reading a different book, and I was like, this is creepy and horror and interesting, but it's from a different book, I think. This doesn't make sense with everything else. I really was charmed by the idea of this and by the characters of the young boys, and like how they were just stream of consciousness telling us the story of their magical childhood summer. Loved that. And I loved their, like, something would happen to one of the people in the small town, and then the boys would go home and talk about it. And like, I love that. I love that aspect of it a lot. So I was really conflicted because there were parts of this book that were 5-star read for me. But overall, there were a lot of things that pulled it back down just because they didn't feel like they fit with the rest of the story. Last but not least, our final book is Day Zero by C. Robert Cargo. This is going to be an interesting read. I'm excited. I did start it. I've gotten a few pages in, and it's a post-apocalyptic story where a anthropomorphic tiger nanny robot is taking care of a young boy when the world ends, essentially. And I'm really excited about that. It starts off with the tiger's point of view, which I really appreciate. But one of the things that I'm already noticing that I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about is just that the tiger doesn't feel like a tiger at all. Like, the way that the tiger thinks and talks is just like a 21st century human, which kind of bugs me a little bit because I was really excited about how that tiger aspect was going to factor into the character and whatever. So I'm only a few pages in, obviously, but that already, I'm not sure I'm loving the narrative's voice. You know what? This vlog is going to take as long as it takes, and for you guys, it'll be roughly the same length anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But let's get started on Day Zero. Hi guys, so it's still Thursday, it's Thursday night. Look how much of this book I've read. Every time I sit down to film, there's the train. So I've read this in like one sitting, little over one sitting. And the beginning of this, so it's not a spoiler, it's on literally the back synopsis of the book. Like, there's a big kind of humans versus AI theme, and this main character robot who is programmed as a nanny for this 8-year-old boy, human boy that he lives with, basically has to decide if he is going to fight with the robots in a massive, like, sudden revolution that happens, or if he's going to keep the little boy safe. I tend to steer away from books that have heavy violent conflict that feels very close to or is based very heavily off of modern history. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily, however, alrighty then. I'm not saying that this was directly inspired by recent modern history because I'm not the author, but it feels very much that way. And so I really struggled with the first little bit of this book because I just wasn't sure that I wanted to read that, because I've been pretty adamant about steering clear of a lot of that kind of storytelling recently. There's the way that the robots are written, I don't really love, because they feel so similar to humans, and I know that's probably kind of the point, but it just, like, I feel like I have to be told why the robots are different instead of anything being shown. I do really like the tension in this story, and I also really like the relationship that we establish in the beginning of the book between Pounce, who's the AI, and Ezra, the little boy. It definitely brings up a lot of ethical, moral quandaries, which I do enjoy in books with, you know, survival-esque settings. And the second half of the book is reading so fast. I'm gonna finish this tonight. There's no way, because I've just been burning through this book. No pun intended. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. I am enjoying it. Guys, we are at the end of this reading vlog. So my final thoughts, I finished day 0. The last third of this book, last half, but especially the last third, I was so immersed and I was so invested in what was happening. The tension was insane, and it was something, like, I don't really want to spoil things, but it was essentially if, like, your giant plushy animal anthropomorphic robot became your bodyguard, like, which was not something that I knew I needed in my life, but now I'm here for it. The political backdrop and the storyline, I felt like it was a little too close to reality for my taste. I felt like the revolution of the robots really didn't have enough fleshed out. Like, we kind of went from 0 to 100 without getting to see any of the why. And overall, that aspect of it wasn't super... There wasn't a lot there. The story between Pounce, our main character, AI character, and Ezra, who was his charge, was very sweet, and there was a lot of really endearing moments with the two of them. So overall, like, honestly, it was a good read. So that officially concludes my reads given to me by my good friend Andrew over at Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and this kind of turned into a 2-week reading vlog wherein Andrew actually helped me get out of my reading slump, which was great, and it worked. I am reading a lot more now than I was when I started this vlog. I feel better about reading. I'm more intrigued by the books on my shelf again. So one of the things that I've learned about reading slumps is that it often really helps to do one of two things. If you need to take a break, take a break. Like, it's okay to put reading down for a while and just give your brain some time to work through whatever else you're going through in life and just take a break. 2, if you do want to keep reading, one of the things that I've learned that's been really helpful for me is shaking things up. Like having somebody else be in control of your TBR and reading something that maybe you wouldn't have reached for right away, because there's that sense of mystery and intrigue there with that kind of adds to the pull, I think, into the book, which is great. Or jumping outside of the genre that you typically read. One of the things I really appreciated was that Andrew did a great job picking 3 very different books for me to read this last couple of weeks. And I think that was a big part of the reason why my reading slump has lessened a little bit now going forward, which has been great. I was able to finish some more books after this. And yeah, I had a great time with all 3 of these. I think if I have to pick my favorite of the 3, I think it's definitely going to be Lord of a Shattered Land, which I know Andrew will be super disappointed about because he, like, totally hated this book and stuff. Yeah, this one I really liked. I would definitely continue the series with book 2. I don't know if it's out in paperback yet. Overall, 3 awesome reads, 3 more books off of my physical TBR, which is awesome. Thank you, Andrew, so much for being my TBR Takeover person this month. I appreciate that. And for everybody who watched this vlog, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for being patient. This was supposed to be a week-long vlog, but we keep it real here on this channel, and my life is crazy during the summer, so it just turned into a 2-week vlog, and that's totally fine. So Anyways, I hope you are reading 5-star reads. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.